It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. The two metrics get to the same thing, whether you're tracking average job size. If you're tracking average job size really like religiously, you're making the assumption that average job equals more money into the bank after you pay your cost of goods sold expenses. If you're tracking production rate, you're really shooting for the same thing. It's just kind of two different ways to get to the same answer. If I couldn't track both, and God had a gun to my head and was like, you only get one, I would track production rate, because then I would just always know from like a profitability standpoint that I was maximizing my revenue for the day. And when
it's so hard to track. So how do you track it?
So I don't track it by job. I track it by day. So I can look, and I include office time and drive time, because that's part of the cost of running the business. Like, I don't just look at, because I need to know if I send somebody out to do three different jobs in a day instead of one job in a day, their total time for the day has to be compared to one set of work versus another set of work. Because I could send them out to 3 smaller jobs and their production rate at those jobs might be better. But if the jobs are 30 minutes apart every single time, they're wasting so much time in the car that doesn't make anybody money. And so we look at production rate. Like, I want to see how fast they can clean, but mostly from a running the business perspective, I need to look at it in terms of like a daily production rate. From the time they clock in the morning to the time they clock out, what was that daily production rate? And there's going to be ups and downs based on the weather and based on the types of jobs and based on where they are in the city and what that route looks like. But if I had to choose, I would look at that, because I can tell how much work they can get done in a day and generally how profitable it is. And that will give me the same information that average job size will generally give me in terms of how profitable we are, but it'll give me like a little bit closer. Like I said, we don't track it. We could go back, because we do have like when they clocked into this job and when they clocked out of that job. We could always go back and look at any specific job, and our employees will be like, dude, that job was way underpriced. Like, we sold that job for $200 and I was there for 4 hours and I was working my ass off. And then we can look at the history if it's a repeat client and be like, yeah, we need to reprice that job. Generally though, we're pricing by window pane or by square footage or something. That's a pretty consistent metric where it tends to hit the mark 95+% of the time. Usually when our production rates get off, they're new. And so they just are going back and forth to the truck a whole bunch because they keep forgetting stuff, or they're just slower moving ladders around, or they go to this side of the house and then they go back to that side of the house. And so it's like inefficiency in how they move about the property. Over time, I mean, in bookkeeping is the same way, right? We have some bookkeepers that like we track their production rates. They bookkeep at $50 an hour for the longest time. And all of a sudden they've been bookkeeping for the same client for a few months and they start to speed up. And then they like learn this trick in QuickBooks and they start to speed up. And we have a gal on our team that like, we haven't changed the prices of the customers, but she used to bookkeep at $50 an hour. And now she's at like $150 an hour. And just like the speed and the confidence with which she moves a mouse, which is not much different than, totally different than window cleaning, but the same idea, right? The speed and confidence with which you move a squeegee and move around a property it's like hilariously similar to how we do bookkeeping, where you click in QuickBooks and the questions that you need to ask and what you do when you get the answer and the follow-up questions that you need to ask. You just do it so much more efficiently. The job size is the exact same.